Hello, today it is Monday, although this video might go up tomorrow. In which case it's Tuesday. Neck update. It's slightly better, but it still hurts if I go too far in either direction, so at least it's something. Improvement. Today my Marvel Heroes preview went up, so you can read that. There'll be a link to that on the site, I think. It's up on Hooked Gamers. And today I've started finally downloading Tomb Raider. Gonna get around to playing that because I was too busy to play it when it came out due to other games I was playing. And I thought, yeah, let's play that game. People seem to like it, and I was looking forward to it beforehand. But as I said, I couldn't get around to playing it on release, but now I'm downloading it slowly on my poor connection, and it seems to be a larger game because it's downloading even slower than a game normally would. So I'll be playing that probably tomorrow as well. But I'm going to answer some questions, and I'm glad that I found this one because I wanted to talk about Bioshock, because that is coming out soon. Bioshock Infinite is coming out next Tuesday. The question is from Dan, and it just says simply, is Bioshock games, I'm gonna change your question, Dan. I'm gonna change it to, are Bioshock games any good to play? I've watched it on YouTube and it does look good, but also when I noticed it looks boring every time you go in the same rooms over and over again. I know there's Bioshock Infinite as well, and that looks good, but not if it involves going to the same place and room all the time. Well, so let me tell you why Bioshock, the first game, is easily in my top 5 games of all time. And part of that was due to the variety of the environments, so I don't know if you're just watching the same video over and over again. But the separate environments in Rapture, the game world, was part of the appeal to me. So there was like the start area, just the welcome point, and then there was the medical area with all the crazy hospital and experiments going on, and then the fishing district, and then the smugglers district, and then Arcadia, the big like park area, and the farmers market, and the mall place, Fort Frolic, and loads of other places. So you're definitely not going to the same room over and over again. Bioshock 2 expanded Rapture, but I feel that Bioshock 2 was very much a business decision rather than like, let's create a really cool game. It wasn't the same developer as the first game. It didn't have Ken Levine as the creative director, and it just seemed like a made by the numbers type game. They added in the multiplayer, which was so-so, and they added in a bunch of new areas, but none of them held the same appeal as the first game, in very much the same way that Portal 2 lost the appeal of the original Portal, even though of course it was still a good game. It wasn't quite, the eye-opening experience that Portal was as you were introduced to this world and this crazy character. The combat in Bioshock was decent. They improved upon it slightly for Bioshock 2, but I've always enjoyed it. You get your plasmid in one hand, so you can shoot your lightning or your bees, and then you've got your gun in the other hand. So, in answer to your question, yes, Bioshock games are good to play. Definitely the first one, in the way that it handles of player agency and whether you're actually in control of your actions, which is something that I don't think games have explored fully since then. The only other game that sort of attacked that issue sort of head on was Hotline Miami last year, when it asked you if you enjoy killing people, because that's what you do in that game. So Bioshock, good. Play Bioshock, and hopefully Bioshock Infinite coming out next week. will be good as well. And I'm glad that they haven't called it Bioshock 3, because that's just definitely saying Rapture is done, it's over here. This is the new setting. So moving on. It's in a different time, and it's above the world rather than below the world, which I think is nice. The other question I have is, during their lifetimes, which console sold more, the original Xbox or the PS2? This is an easy question because the PlayStation 2 is the best-selling console of all time by far. If you're just counting home consoles, even if you factor in handheld consoles, it still has sold more than all of the other ones. So the stats are here. PlayStation 2 sold 155 million units. And the Xbox, the original Xbox, you have to go all the way down the list to find it. 24 million. So, that is like 6 times fewer units than what the PlayStation 2 sold. And that was it only came out a year after it's released. When you compare that to the current generation, the 360 released in 2005, the PlayStation 3 released in 2006, the gap between the two numbers of units sold is much smaller for that. And there are differing opinions. So the 360 is supposed to have sold 76 million units. And there are two different figures for the PlayStation 3. One of them says 70 million, putting the 360 on top slightly. But the other estimate from the start of this year, from the IDC, says that the PlayStation 3 has sold 77 million, which would put the PS3 on top of the 360. Which is interesting because, of course the PlayStation 2 won the previous generation console war, and a lot of people would say that the 360 has won this one, but the figures aren't too far apart either way you look at it. And that I think is just down to there are a lot more exclusive games that were being released on the PlayStation 2 than the original Xbox, because it came out first, because it was like the first one to do, well, not the first one, but it was finally doing 3D games well, and the Xbox came along slightly too late to that party. And I think without Halo, the first Xbox would have been doomed to even lose even further. So yes, definitely the PlayStation 2 has sold by far the greatest amount of consoles. The DS, actually, the Nintendo DS handheld, has sold nearly as many units as the PlayStation 2, at 153.67 is very precise million units, and then the Game Boy Classic / Color combined is slightly below that, and then PlayStation 1 just below those two on 102 million. So Sony have definitely sold their fair share of hardware over the years, with Nintendo up there as well, and Microsoft being relatively new. They've only been doing consoles since the early 2000s, much farther behind in that sense. So during their lifetimes, the PS2 far outsold the original Xbox, and that's all the questions I have for today. So keep checking out stuff on the site, keep watching, and keep asking questions, and I'll answer them. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.